We are live from the Lakewood Truck Park. Big Play pregame, American League Division Series, Game 1, Cleveland Guardians, Detroit Tigers. I'm Nick Padone, Big Play Dave, Jensen Lewis, the man
Let's go, buddy!
of
Let's
the hour. It's Game 1 for our Cleveland Guardians. We're here hanging out at the Lakewood Truck Park. It's all presented to you guys by Lipton Hard Iced Tea. Come on down to the Lakewood Truck Park. We're going to be live all the way up until first pitch. Come drink some hard iced teas with us. We've got a fun show for you guys. And, boys, we're going to have some fun on this one. We are going to be joined by John Morosi of MLB Network momentarily at 11:15. Jensen, you tell me, big Detroit fan, and obviously is going to break down this division.
Yeah,
series.
it is good to be with you guys. We could not have had a better day out here,
awesome.
right?
Yeah.
This is going to be fantastic. Again, if you're making your way down and you're in the Lakewood area, stop by, have a pop or two, and some food before you head down. Sold out Game 1. Sold out Game 2. We found out Game 3 is going to start in Detroit around 3:08 or 4:08, kind of depending
all prime time, 108, baby. Let's go.
Prime time. See, that's good prime time for us. Good prime time. But, yeah, rosters just came out. I think the one surprise, or maybe the two surprises, the first one has been Lively, not on the Division Series roster. So, Stephen Vogt and company going with Joey Cantillo and Gavin Williams as your other starters, as possible relievers, too. No Angel Martinez, but you get Tyler Freeman and Daniel Schneemann. So looking for a little more versatility in matchups. So anxious to see with the lineup once it comes out momentarily. We're expecting Reese Olson to be the starter, so you've got an intrigue about lineup construction there from Voter, but can't wait to get this going, boys.
Jensen, with Cantillo, is that just a sort of a thing where he's been so hot and he's been so on, and Lively kind of hasn't been? That's why Vote gives him the nod here for this division series?
I think that's fair, and I think, too, when you're looking at postseasons of the past, and heck, already our wild card round, you're looking for more swing and miss capability, and we know that a lefty with power stuff, you're not asking him to go 5-6 innings. You may ask him to go one time through the order and bridge it to the big guys in the back. I told you guys this on Bringing the Heat this week, that it's a huge advantage, I think, with the American League Division Series setup, because you get the off day in between Game 1 and Game 2, and you get the off day in between Game 2 and Game 3. So you can essentially go with your big four and Clase and Gaddis and Kate Smith and Tim Herron at will, knowing you've got the rest in between those first couple of games.
So, Jensen, what are the vibes right now internally for you? So, obviously we were in 2016. We've had a ton of success under Tito. We've got a new manager going into this. Gut check. How you feeling right now?
I'm good. I'm anxious to see, and Voter has said all the right things. He goes, the hard work is done. Now we get to go have fun. I'm like, it's a different animal when you get into October. They're going to have a lot of fun, and they're going to be amped up, because there's nothing like a Progressive Field crowd for a postseason game, and I'm thrilled that we get a Saturday afternoon to start it, because everyone had a chance to kind of make this crescendo through the week and really anticipate what I think is going to be an electric atmosphere.
Now, how relaxing was it that we weren't in the wild card?
Told you guys. I was like, this is the leverage that you wanted on the American League side, because and again, credit to Kansas City and Detroit. They did what they had to do. I'm a little shocked that Houston didn't put up more resistance against Detroit, but that just kind of tells you where Detroit's pitching is right now. And then Kansas City. I know Yankee fans, and I've seen plenty of them on the national stage.
The worst.
A lot of national critics saying, well, if the Yankees can't get through now, they're never going to get through, thinking that this is going to be the path of least resistance. I got news for Yankee fans. Kansas City's pretty damn good. They're pretty damn good.
Yeah.
So it's going to be fun to watch.
Can you imagine an all AL Central, ALCS?
Be great.
Obviously, the Guardians have 3 wins that need to happen here this coming week, but would be pretty cool.
I think the first time, too, now, and you look back, obviously, in 2016, that's when the then Cleveland Indians were there with Tito and company. But to understand the dominance, and I think we deserve a tip of the cap to Houston, 7 straight years to the ALCS. I mean, that's just unbelievable. In that time now, you've seen in the last couple of years, and Detroit finished second in the division last year. Kansas City, with all the additions this offseason, they won 56 games last year, guys.
Yeah.
They're now on the precipice of 3 more wins, getting them to the American League Championship Series.
Alrighty, it is time for us to get to our first featured interview of the Big Play pregame. We're hanging out here at the Lakewood Truck Park. If you're going down to the game, if you're coming down to Cleveland, make sure to stop, hang out with us, get a Lipton Hard Iced Tea. But it's time to bring in John Morosi of MLB Network to the show. John, I know you're out there covering Kansas City and New York in the Bronx. What's the vibe like out there?
Well, good morning. Beautiful day for postseason baseball here in New York City, first of all. So it looks like it's a gorgeous day in Cleveland where you are, too. So I can't wait. I'm thrilled to be here covering this series for Turner, working with Bob Costas and Ron Darling, and certainly my heart and my attention also on the great series that you're about to cover between Cleveland and Detroit, two cities very near and dear to our family's heart. So it's going to be a lot of fun. I'm actually wearing my cousin went to Case Western. I just so happen to have my Case Western shirt on here today, too. So great Midwestern baseball celebration.
John, bienvenidos, ven conmigo.
Gracias. Wow.
If you guys,
bastante bien español, muy bien.
I wish we had Carlos Baerga, who we'll have in the next hour here, because you guys would carry on. But again, all bias aside here, this is about as close a series from a pitching standpoint I think we may have in the division series setup. Obviously, with where Detroit is at with their bullpen, Cleveland, that was the strength of their club. As you look at how Detroit comes into this series today with what they've done in the postseason thus far, strengths and weaknesses you see for the Tigers that the Guardians will have to overcome.
Jensen, I think that actually the Tigers pitching sets up very nicely for this series, especially with Skubal going in game 2. The idea for Detroit, certainly you'd like to get a split on the road. That's what we always hear at this time of year. And when you've got in game 2, your ace, the ace of aces, maybe the best pitcher in the world right now, and Tarik Skubal going in game 2, you feel really good about him. But then I think in game 1, the Tigers can probably feel like they're the relaxed team. They have the benefit of knowing that this strategy works because they won game 2 against Houston with this exact strategy of potentially an opener with some bulk guys and mixing and matching the way A.J. Hinch and Chris Fetter do so well. And then you can be relaxed because you're on the road. No one expected Detroit to be in the situation anyway. And how many times, guys, that we've watched playoff baseball, the relaxed teams are often the best teams. And the Tigers, listen, once they've won that series in Houston, they now don't have too long of a layoff, whereas the Guardians do. So I think for a lot of reasons, it does set up pretty nicely for Detroit. I think Bobby is going to have to be really big tonight. I think it's this afternoon. I think he's going to really be a pivotal figure in this series because if he can't get the win, then you start looking at game 2 saying, wow, that's a nervous day for the Guardians to have to face Skubal. And then the series, of course, shifts to Detroit. So it feels like this is a more important start for Bobby than it is for Olsen and the Tigers pitching plan.
Yep, would totally agree. And for people that have not watched enough of A.J. Hinch from his days in Houston, I mean, you talk about one of the great ironies and the great narratives already of our postseason, him taking the hottest team in the second half, if you will, at least in the last month or so, into Houston. He beats his old team. Now you come in, you have a postseason veteran, A.J. Hinch, versus a postseason newcomer and rookie in the managerial sense in Stephen Vogt. For people on the outside that are just getting acquainted, what stands out to you about Stephen Vogt from day one when he took the job to the journey that he has taken with this club so far this year?
Well, Jensen, I remember covering Stephen as a player and thinking just with his level of thoughtfulness, the way that he connects with people, the self-deprecating sense of humor, which in some ways is very Francona-like.
Yeah.
that he was the natural guy to succeed Tito in this role. And someone who I think was preparing for this vocation, this calling to be a coach and eventually manager when he was still playing. I think he was always very curious about the broader picture of the game. He worked for a while as a guest analyst, even at MLB Network as well, where he just, you could tell that he is a very thoughtful person. And I think that for a team that is very diverse, as the Guardians are, different backgrounds in the game, I think he relates well to the superstars. He relates well to people who had to grind it out just to get to the big leagues, because I think he's been both of those things. He became a star in this league, but also he had to be a grinder at the outset of his career just to get to the big league. So I think, again, similar in a lot of ways to Tito, the ability to meet players wherever they're at really stands out to me. I think it's a really well-trained coaching staff that I think has a lot of very diverse experiences too. I think Chris Valaika is an excellent hitting coach. I've known him throughout his playing career too. So they've got a really nice staff, very balanced staff overall. And I think Stephen Vogt, who had a lot of playoff experience too as a player, I think he's a really ideal manager to bring the Guardians into this scene. And I think, honestly, the way the Guardians have had to use their bullpen a lot during the course of the year, Jensen, that they've had almost a playoff style of utilizing the pen.
Totally agree.
In different moments, whether it's Herron, Smith, Gaddis, they've gotten, I think, a lot of really high-level performance from that group. And I think in that respect, the Guardians benefit from the layoff in a way that maybe more of a starting pitching base or power hitting base team might struggle a bit. Whereas I think the bullpen is such a huge part of the Guardians' success that giving them that break, and also their hitters. I think that a team that is more dependent on the home run might struggle a bit more with a 6-day layoff. Whereas you all know better than I do, but I look at the swings of Ramirez and Kwan, and I say these are swings that don't go into slumps very easily or very often. And I think that their hitting philosophy, which I think really pervades the entire lineup. Jose Ramirez, he could wake up on Christmas Day and get a couple hits.
Yes, he could.
Which is one of the reasons why I love watching him play, and the same is true for Kwan. So I think that their group, and I honestly think one of the key guys in this series for Cleveland is going to be Manzardo. There's a fun story, of course. Kyle's dad is a native Michigander, grew up in the Flint area, so there's a connection to the rivalry here, which I think is pretty special. But I think Kyle's going to be a really important player for the Guardians here in this series.
If you had to pick an X factor, John, from each side, I know you said Manzardo is interesting. Obviously, Kwan and Hosey, always interesting. An X factor for the Guardians, but then an X factor for the Tigers. Who are two players for each side that fans should keep an eye out on?
All right, so I think with the Tigers, I think Matt Vierling is a name to watch. I think he's a guy that was the only player on their wild card series roster who had playoff experience, which I think is really interesting. And so when Vierling comes up in a big spot, these are moments that he's comfortable with. He was certainly a big part of the rally that helped the Tigers win the first game of the series against Houston. So I think that Vierling is someone that I'm watching carefully. He's become in some ways the leader of this team. I think in terms of the Guardians, I'm going to focus bullpen. And I think Cade Smith is someone that the whole baseball world's about to get to know in a way that maybe they haven't followed as carefully the AL Central this season. His numbers, and the three of you know this very well, he's been one of the best relievers in the game. And I love too, by the way, and by the way, that's a great mid-segment snack for you guys.
John, we're ready to start drinking this stuff, and we're like, come on, I'm getting nervous here.
You're making us nervous here, John.
I probably couldn't partake. You probably can't overnight me the same provisions, which is okay. It's all good. We got to do the broadcast today. But I think that when you talk about Cade Smith, I love that the Guardians, with the Blue Jays not being part of the postseason, the Guardians we can officially call Canada's team.
Yes.
We've got four Canadians on the roster for this series when you include Sabrowski and the Nailers. So it's I would hope that they're going to play "Oh Canada" during the pregame intros there in Cleveland today.
All right, John, we'll get you out of here on our last question. I think you'll be happy either way. Detroit wins. It continues just an unbelievable run. I think they were upwards of 600-1 at the beginning of the season to get not only to the World Series but win it. Is there something to be said for the American League Central having 3 of the 4 semifinalists, if you will, in the American League? And from what we saw last year, and you know as well as I do, watching Detroit, they finished second in the division last year in the final week. Kansas City, 56 wins last year, 3 wins away from going to the ALCS. No one could have predicted what would have happened with Cleveland with Stephen Vogt in year 1. Is this the biggest shock for you from as far as a postseason semifinalist for one side of the bracket?
It is surprising, certainly as much of a Midwest guy as I am. I'd be lying if I told you that at the All-Star break I expected 3 of the last 4 teams in the AL to be from the Central. But I love it. I love it because it shines a light on the quality of the teams here. Listen, there were a lot of people who said when the first postseason brackets came out, oh, well, there's 3 AL Central teams. They're there because of the White Sox and because of how dominant they were against the White Sox. Okay, I mean, that's certainly one element of it, but look at what's happened since then. The AL Central is 4-0. After the first game today, they'll be 5-1, and then we'll see what happens in the nightcap. But it's it speaks to the level of talent and the quality of the teams in this division. And one of the teams that was in the race until the very end was Minnesota.
Yeah.
And obviously, no matter what, it looked like there was going to be an American League Central team in that last spot, no matter what. It happened to be the Tigers, and the Royals got the 5th seed. And to be fair, if you go back and ask why did the Tigers make it ahead of the team that was right behind them in the standings, which was Seattle, there were 2 very big series late in the season between the Tigers and the Mariners.
Yes.
And the Tigers dominated those 2 series. And so if you can set aside the White Sox and all the one-liners about that you want to, if Seattle was a better team than Detroit, they would have shown it in those 2 series.
Agreed.
And they did not.
Yep.
So that, to me, that was decided. As much as anybody wants to say, oh, the White Sox, no. That was decided on the field. The Tigers won those 2 series at a pivotal point in their season, and they earned their way to October. And then they beat the team that had been to the ALCS every year since the beginning of time, it felt like. And the team that ended it was managed by A.J. Hinch. Just the story just is remarkable, and it's pretty cool to have this series beat Cleveland, Detroit now going forward.
Yep.
Absolutely. John, thank you so much for joining us. We'll let you get back to covering Yankees KC, but keep an eye out on what we've got going on in this game. I know you will.
Yeah, you will.
100%. This one's the battle for Lake Erie. Enjoy it. Have some fun. It's a great lake, by the way. I love those beautiful cottage country there around Sandusky Point's gorgeous, and then even on our area around Monroe, Michigan. So Lake Erie, underrated, great lake. How about that?
John, I don't know if it is a longer odds for Detroit to be where they are now, or perhaps an eventual Lions-Browns Super Bowl.
Oh,
It could happen. Rematch of 57, baby. Let's do it.
Whole different show. But thank you, buddy, for coming. We appreciate you stopping by.
Talk to you soon. Thank you.
John Morosi from MLB Network. Thanks a ton to him
A
for
rematch
joining
of
us.
57? How sad is that?
Do we have anyone alive that remembers that one?
I don't think so. Guys, that was obviously a lot to digest, and I think it puts into perspective for me, Jensen, just how hot these Detroit Tigers are right now and what they've had to accomplish and overcome just to get to this point. The Guardians almost seem like they've got to play a little bit of spoiler now. They got to ruin a party of a team that's overachieved
Momentum.
and they're punching up. Yeah.
I think that might play into their favor, though. All they've heard about this week is Detroit's been the hottest team. This is a team of destiny. They're a club that has been bullpenning for the last month plus, and that's fair. They have. I mean, the numbers bear it out. The top 2 bullpens now since August 12th, basically. Number 1 is Cleveland at a 2.69 ERA, and basically where Detroit has come in number 2 since that point at 2.39. So, I'm sorry, Cleveland was 2.26, Detroit 2.39. Either way, I told you guys this before. I think it becomes a 5, maybe a 6-inning game.
Yep.
And that's where runs become a premium early. And AJP makes a great point about Bybee today. You have 11 days off. Your last regular season, your last actual real game appearance was the Reds, and you have this simulated game. I can tell you from experience, sim games, you're nowhere near the intensity he's going to feel today, and that's okay. But I think that's a huge key. Can he get off to a great start command and control-wise? If he does that, Guardians are in great shape.
Now, he mentioned Stephen Vogt, and obviously he's had way above expectations, would you say, for the Guardians this year? Maybe just a little bit?
Yeah.
Tito. That was some surprising news. How much better or softer was the blow knowing that we have Vogt as our manager?
I think ultimately when – and we know that his health, he was dealing with it. He even admitted he needed to get right, and he needed time away from the grind in the day-to-day. And anyone who's been in that position, whether it's your first time, whether it's your 10th year, 12th year, 15th, whatever, will tell you the day-to-day in this day and age is really tough.
Yeah.
So I respect that part of it, but now – to me, and my better half, Michelle and I were sitting there when the news came across, and first I looked, is this a blue check mark? Is this, what's going on?
I thought I was getting pranked.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you see the news, and then for me, it would have to be there was a real conversation with ownership in that front office to say, I'm not coming back unless A, B, C, all the way through the list is like, here's how this thing's going to go.
Yep.
And that's great news for Reds fans because we know in year one, you guys remember in 2013, you won 10 straight at the end of the year to get into the postseason in his first year. So, if anything, the Ohio Cup now all of a sudden becomes more intriguing with him being on the other side. But first and foremost, what they look like in that division, the Reds, I think they are instant contenders for that division title. We know from experience Tito knows how to press the buttons right.
180, yes.
And if anything, they're going to be a great second-half team because that's his track record. After the All-Star break, he manages teams, and he gets the most out of them. So I think if you're a Cincinnati Red fan, you're feeling great today.
Yeah, absolutely.
Obviously, the Guardians have some business that they need to take care of this postseason, but it's always fun to look ahead. I mean, I wonder, and I know it was a possibility during your playing days,
Yeah.
an Ohio Cup World Series with Tito Francona managing the Cincinnati Reds would be crazy, but fun things to think about. We are going to get you guys going as the Guardians are set to take on the Detroit Tigers here at 1 o'clock. Jensen, another interesting piece of what John had discussed with us is the bullpens. And he named Cade Smith specifically as the X factor for our Cleveland Guardians in this series. I think a lot of people, it's easy to look at Clase. A lot of people, it's easy to look at some of the guys that have been around the block, been there, done that. No, John told us that it's Cade Smith is the guy to watch out for Cleveland.
I think the biggest endorsement player to player was Austin Hedges saying that he's going to be closing games in the near future, and that's with Emmanuel Clase, the best closer in the game, maybe the best pitcher in the game as of this year. What's intriguing to me is, okay, the regular season is one animal. When you're a rookie, and I was in 07, 23 years old, coming in and getting outs in Yankee Stadium, in Fenway Park, I mean, it's a whole different echelon of pressure. I like that.
How many did you strike out in that one inning?
I
Jeter, forget.
Yeah, the Jeter, Abreu, A-Rod, all three. 3 for 3. But I was really happy, I think, in a similar fashion that we opened the division series against the Yankees at home. We got those first 2 games at home. We blew out New York in game 1, and we all, the big guns in the back of that, but we all got a chance to pitch in game 1. So you kind of got that your foot in the deep end to feel what it was like. Game 2, I was warming up. If you remember, it was Fausto Carmona, the artist formerly known.
Bob Hernandez.
9 innings, and he was unbelievable.
Yeah.
I was warming up in extras to possibly come in, and I could tell you then, I was like, this is different. This is different. That's when it was 45,000 then at Jacobs Field.
Yeah.
You'll still feel that energy today, but I'm more intrigued on still the layoff in between. And fortunately, those guys got to pitch Saturday against Houston, but that's a week off. That's an eternity for relievers.
Yeah.
So really, these first couple of hitters, I think, go a long way in telling us how sharp they are. And hopefully the offense can afford them a little bit of breathing room no matter where they are.
So what do you do as a relief pitcher when you have that much time off? Like, what's the mental status? What's the what do you do like day to day just to try to get yourself in a position?
Yeah, you simulate as much as possible. And
does that help?
Yeah, it sure does.
Okay.
Because we're creatures of habit. You're used to doing it for 6 months. But I think the most important part for those guys is they actually got to do the simulated game. So you at least get a little adrenaline rush. You at least get a competitive feel. How's my stuff? If anything, they probably got to work on maybe a secondary pitch that they had developed in the second half of the season. To me, I think Hunter Gaddis, he's primarily fastball changeup for the majority of the first half, and in the second half, and he developed that slider.
Yep.
So for me, what a great opportunity for both righties and lefties to see, okay, am I at the right click spot? Am I at the right, release point? Do I feel like this is something that I could use in multiple counts, or is this just straight up a wipeout pitch for me? I think that's the advantage of having the time off. But also, think about, you've got 4 guys. You had Clase, Gaddis, Cade Smith, and Herron. 65-plus innings for all 4 of those guys.
It's so good.
If anybody needed the time and it benefited the most, I would say it's probably those big 4.
For sure. Looking towards the offense for the Guardians, Jensen, we know for Game 2, it's going to be Scooble on the bump, and we know that's going to be a completely different animal. I wonder what the time off does for the bats, for Steven Kwan, for Jose Ramirez, because a big piece of this to me, especially when you look at the offense and where they rank in the major leagues, obviously the Dodgers are number 1, Detroit 11, Cleveland down there at 22. I would love nothing more than in this game today, the Guardians jump out in the first 3 or 4 innings, score 3 or 4 runs, and then you turn it over to the bullpen and you could feel pretty good.
And can I just say, I'm very nervous.
Me too.
About Jose Ramirez. John was very flattering towards Jose. We've seen Jose in the playoffs struggle in years past. I just get so nervous with him, and then Quan coming in a little bit cold.
Yep.
How the Bats are going to perform when, they don't have a – Jose obviously has his post-game experience,
Right.
but it's a young team.
Two things jump out to me. Number one, career numbers for Jose against Detroit. He's absolutely owned them. And sometimes when you're seeing a franchise, you're seeing a staff, and even this year where he swung the bat really well against them, it gives you that confidence walking in of, it's a week off, but I've owned these guys throughout the year. Your concern about Quan is well warranted. We know what he did in the first half, some fatigue in the IL stint in the second half. What I'm focused on, too, again, from the young reliever standpoint to the young bat standpoint, he brought up Manzardo. I think Manzardo, chance for a big day today. Willie Brennan, who is hot down the stretch, chance for a big day today. And then the lineup construction initially, yes, Reese Olson's your starter. But I think A.J. Hinch is sound enough mentally to realize, hey, let's not allow this club to get way out in front. There could be a quick hook anyway, because as I said, the off day tomorrow affords you all the options if you're A.J. Hinch to run the bullpen arms out there. So I do see a scenario where you could see a fair amount of runs from both sides today. Understand that Bobby's going to have to try and lock in from the first couple innings with 11 days off, but also on the other side, hey, this is a different animal, that familiarity factor where Detroit, you've seen Cleveland, but Cleveland's offense has seen you too. One thing we do know, it's probably going to be close because 7 of the 13 games decided by 1 run this year. I think that trend probably continues.
Yeah. And even the series, record between these two clubs, 8-7 right there, have button heads, pretty much 500 gridlocked. Dave, I feel like you're a little nervous. I'm a little nervous too. I want to see the offense come out and take care of some of those nerves early.
Yeah, I don't know. It's the Cleveland in me. It's being at like the wild card game when Danny Salazar went out there and got lit up. It's being at Game 7 of the 2016 World Series.
Yeah.
Still my favorite moment.
Yep.
And we lost.
Right.
We need to get a little bit of confidence going here. I've got a little liquid courage.
Yeah.
The cup's a bit small.
You can have mine if you want. Double up.
Triple up.
But Jensen, give me something to focus on where you say, you know what, don't worry about this guy, or don't worry about this heading into the playoffs this year.
I would say the number that sticks out, 50 home wins. Most home wins in all of the American League, second only to Philadelphia and L.A. in Big League Baseball. I think 42 come from behind wins, a second to the Mets, and I think the Tigers were in there too, and tied with them.
Yep.
So if there's any team that's capable, and really what Austin Hedges told us to the media at the beginning of the season, we're approaching every game as though it's a playoff game. Now, I had said early on, like, that's really hard to do.
Yeah, it's a long season.
We've got a 6-month marathon, and to be able to have that kind of buy-in plus concentration, and it takes a lot out of you. So, again, if that is indeed the way that they approached it, that gives me even more confidence to say we've already simulated October because we put it into our daily work from April through September. So I think those were two things for you, buddy, to just enjoy the moment and be okay.
For sure. Another fascinating piece of our conversation with John at the top of the hour here was, yes, Stephen Vogt is a rookie manager in all of this, but it's a little bit different because as a player, which as we all know, not too long ago, he played in the postseason, and then just as a student of the game, he understands what playing in October means.
Yep.
I think that's an important element that I don't really think, and I fully trust Stephen Vogt is going to be up for the challenge today in this American League Division Series.
There's something to be said for at least some sort of postseason familiarity where you're not walking into this thing completely blind or not used to it, having any experience. So, yeah, I agree with you there. What we said at the beginning of the year was I wasn't going to pass judgment, at least for the first month, on the in-game decisions, on the tempo of the game, because I think Mark DeRosa said it best when he was managing Team USA. It was the first time he's ever done it. And he goes, you really got to think 2-3 innings ahead.
Yeah.
That's in a WBC game. Imagine now in October when all the chips are on the line here. So what Stephen Vogt, I think, has done and shown us through the majority of the regular season is that he's equipped to do it. He really allows his coaches to be empowered. and takes their advice or takes what they're telling him at face value and really appreciates the advanced work that they do, that's allowed him to put himself in a mind space of the hard work is done. I'm presented with a pretty black and white decision. Now, he'd probably admit there's a lot more gray in there, but I think overall the work that they put in, and this coaching staff deserves as much credit as he does. The preparation has been off the charts, and it's a big reason why they're here.
Yeah.
For sure. Alrighty, we are hanging out here live from the Lakewood Truck Park. If you're downtown, if you're in anywhere in Northeast Ohio, come through the Lakewood Truck Park. We're hanging out here. We're watching the Guards. Guys, then we've got the Buckeyes going at 3:30.
Big day.
It's a packed day, and we'll be live taking you guys all the way up until first pitch right here on the Big Play Network. Hey, straight ahead, we're answering some fan questions, and we're doing a little trivia. We're going to give some stuff away. Don't go anywhere. More of the Big Play pregame right after this. Welcome back into Big Play pregame. We're bringing the show to you live from the Lakewood Truck Park. Come on down to the Lakewood Truck Park. We're taking you all the way to first pitch. They'll obviously have the game on here. Then we're going to get right into the Buckeyes at 3:30. It's a packed day down here in Lakewood. This is the Big Play pregame show. I'm Nick Padone, Big Play Dave, Jensen Lewis. You guys could follow the show at Big Play on social media, and feel free to tweet us some questions, guys, because Jensen, we'll bring
one
this
from across
back.
the pond.
We got
apparently.
one from across the pond. Mike, who's tuned into the show in the United Kingdom.
What time is it there?
So what is it? 6
8?
hours ahead.
6 hours ahead. So getting ready. 6 o'clock. Seven o'clock.
Attaboy.
First pitch over there.
I hope he took a nap for this
Fish and
108.
chips before the game.
Fish and chips across the pond. Mike Brown's UK asks Jensen, do you think we'll see Cobb, Williams, Cantillo piggyback each other in Game 2 or Game 3? A little bit of the using the starter as a bullpen type of philosophy here.
So I would be shocked if we don't see Matthew Boyd start Game 2. And boy, there's a storyline in of itself. You guys well know many years where he was with the Tigers and took it to us before the arm injury and then bounced around a couple places. So I would think the way that it's been trending, that could be, or they decide, hey, we're going to go Boyd on the road, veteran, no better guy that knows how to pitch at Comerica Park with a big crowd than Matthew Boyd. So that could be an option there. So I think a lot predicated on how today goes and knowing, where you are in Game 2 on Monday with Tarek Skubal on the other side.
Yeah, and it'll be fascinating to see what they do with Boyd. A piece of me, I know you said he's probably going to go tomorrow. A piece of me wanted to see that first start come in Comerica against his old squad. It could be cool.
Yeah, it definitely could.
That'd be a lot of fun. So, Mike, hopefully that answered your question. If you have any questions for us out there, whether you're across the pond, whether you're across the road here from the Lakewood Truck Park, feel free to shoot them to us at Big Play. He is at JLou50 out there on the social media streets. Guys, as we get ready to kick off this game, first pitch here really in just over an hour, we were talking a little bit about our bets during the break. And, Jensen, I think you have one that everyone here at the Truck Park is going to love.
Well, I think where it's at, my top recommendation would be Guardians money line. That's bias aside. I just think with where Bibee is in big games and just knowing that a little extra rest is something that he benefits from. I think the home crowd, I think the familiarity and where our lineup can stack up. It would seem as though the urgency is there. And again, they see everything we see with Skubal and going to be in Game 2. So it wouldn't shock me if they come out and they put up quite the performance today. So I think Guardians money line's in play. I think if you want to get creative, the over 6.5 is something I'd look at. I think you'd see both sides. Maybe with a little rambunctiousness, if you will, offensively, trying to push the envelope.
And people are with you. So, like the live line, they just literally bumped to 7.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Wow. There you go. I would say that if you're looking at some bats, I mean,
you're moving the needle.
Who knew? Who knew?
It's everyone here at the Truck Park betting over.
I would say that if you look at player props, I would say Manzardo, to get a hit. Willie Brennan's been hot. I think if you want to go Bibee, maybe Bibee strikeouts, something like that. If you're looking to get a little same game parlay going,
Dave is literally building a parlay in real time on the show here.
You know me too well.
Yeah.
So we've got Tanner Bibee. If you had to guess strikeout over under, where'd you put him at for this?
Probably 5.5 or 6.5.
Dude, right on it. Right on it. It's basically 6.5 is the money line. 4 and over minus 800. 5 and over minus 320.
Five's the number.
6 and over minus 145.
I think 5. You buy down to 5, probably just to in case you get a little high pitch count early, trying to get the command back. 5 makes sense. I think you go a Manzardo to get a hit, and I think you go a little Willie Brennan to get a hit, little 3-legger for you right there.
Oh wow.
And Guardians money line.
All right.
There's your 4. Your Grand Slam parlay right there.
Wow, I like that. So Dave, let's lock that in. We gotta go slow here. Go slow for me as I pull this up.
So you know what? I don't know if they're gonna give us the Manzardo props. He's so new to the playoffs. I'm not sure that they've
And
been.
he's not starting, so we have the starting.
Right.
I have the starting lineup.
Yeah, what's the lineup?
If you guys want it, just dropped 108. Obviously, first pitch from Progressive Field. We've got Quan in the leadoff, followed by David Fry is DHing in the 2-hole. Jose Ramirez in his typical spot. They're batting third. Josh Naylor, cleanup, playing first base. Lane Thomas in center field. Andreas Jimenez at second. John Kenzie Noel, Big Christmas in right field.
Wow.
Starting game one for the Cleveland Guardians. Bo Naylor behind the plate and Brian Rocchio at short. That's your starting lineup for game one of the American League Division Series for the Cleveland Guardians.
All right. Yeah, go ahead.
All right, I've got a parlay. Tell me if I'm an idiot. Are you ready?
All right, go ahead.
So we're going Jose Ramirez 1 hit. I'm trying to build my confidence up that he's going to be good in the playoffs.
Great numbers against Detroit in his career, and obviously this year. Okay.
All right. Tanner Bybee, 5 strikeouts.
I like that. I think you play a conservative there. You just don't know with the command, so it could take him a little bit, but I like that.
Big Christmas, a home run.
Really?
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 Come on.
I mean, it's your money.
50 pays 600.
Oh, my God. So see, the conservative side of me would say just 4 total bases. So you get multiple chances.
That's interesting, yes.
Or you just do the 2 total bases, you get the double, and you're a winner.
All right, I want to do a home run.
Okay.
So do I pick Big Christmas or do I pick someone else?
No, I mean, he's the guy.
You think so?
Well, like I said, if Manzardo was starting and got the at-bats, I would say he'd be the guy. David Fry, Fry guy in front of Jose Ramirez.
Yeah.
J-Ram's the easy one just because he's owned Detroit. So, I mean, go with it.
Okay.
It was your gut. It was your gut instinct. It was your first. So go with it.
Jensen, Big Christmas has been a big play guy, kind of through and through from the start. We were campaigning for him to get brought up, and
for
then he got brought up.
What a guy,
dude! But like we were seriously like pounding the table for this guy to make his debut. He does. It's been a fun ride. Obviously, when he makes contact with one, it goes a long way.
Right.
The rest of it is kind of the ugly part that we won't talk about.
Sure.
What does this mean for him that, a guy that had just made his major league debut this year to start game one at Progressive Field? I mean, this is a mammoth spot for Big Christmas. And candidly, as one of his biggest supporters at this desk, certainly, I'm a little bit surprised they give him the starting nod game one.
I think a lot of that, Nick, is predicated on, voters sticking with what got them there, and this is how they've usually built. If it's a left-handed starter, then this is where they go. And I honestly believe with Fry there in the 2 spot, you're anticipating Manzardo jumping in there at some point once AJ Hinch goes to the bullpen, and the same could probably be said, I think, from that bottom of the lineup portion too. Remember, if people are just joining us, the rosters came out at 10 a.m. this morning, and I think our 2 biggest takeaways, one, no Ben Lively on the Division Series roster. And before we go on from that, how important has Ben Lively to the group? And it's got to be a gut punch for him, knowing that without him in the first half, with all the injuries to Bieber and McKenzie's ineffectiveness and Logan Allen, without Ben Lively, they're not here.
Dude, me and Dave were calling him the Guardians' Joe Flacco a couple games through the season.
Yeah. He was. And for me, I think the other side of it, too, is, Angel Martinez, a switch hitter, not on there. You have Schneemann and Tyler Freeman that make the roster. So I think it gives you a little window into voter wants to have maximum leverage on the late game situations, whether it's a pinch runner, whether it's a pinch hitter, whether it's a defensive replacement. Remember, Tyler Freeman also was playing center field at the beginning of the season and really showed some defensive prowess there. Hit pretty well in spurts. Schneemann took it on the chin a little bit the last couple of weeks. So just from that roster overall, I think that kind of tells you where Stephen Vogt is looking at the matchups, particularly against Detroit this series.
Man, that is really cool. I mean, I'm excited for him. I really hope Big Christmas. I hope for your parlay, Dave, that he hits a home. That he hits a home run. But I really hope that he finds a way to get on base, have a hit in a big moment, to kind of keep his Cleveland folklore growing. But then also to just for himself, play game 2, play game 3, like. Really become what we want to see Big Christmas become for this organization moving forward. This is a big spot, and I'm excited to see his name on that lineup card.
And you know what? One more that I'm going to hammer, and we can't do it right now because it's going to be a live bet, is when Manzardo pinch hits late in the game, plus 1,500 home run, Let's do it.
Oh my God. He's been such a revelation, right? And he probably earned himself a spot out of spring training to get onto the opening day roster. But as you guys well know, they wanted to give some opportunities to other guys, and they wanted the old quote finish him off in the minors, make sure everything was done. So when he would come up, but remember, you had to go back down for roster consideration the second half, and then came back up. And I think you're seeing a bit more of the finished product. I mean, the homer against Minnesota is a turning point of the season. The Bo Naylor homer to get the 4-run seventh inning comeback against Kansas City. Guys, I can't tell you how much avoiding a 4-game sweep then.
Yeah.
Imagine the dynamic, because Kansas City had come level with us in the standings.
Yeah. I remember
There were two different points. We lost 7 or 8 in a row going to the Minnesota series. They won the first game or two, and then we split. It was the wraparound series. And then Kansas City, it's the make-up doubleheader on Monday they swept. Then they win Tuesday, and you're down on Wednesday, and you're staring down the barrel of, oh my God, is this thing melting down? Like, it isn't really. So that
everyone was thinking it.
That inning was huge because Kansas City went into a tailspin after that, and then the homer for Manzardo against Minnesota to put the nail in the coffin for the Twins in their season.
Man, it was a beauty. We released the shirt and then right away with the Manzardo Guardian head, just because, that Manzardo really did save Cleveland's season, and excited to see him in this postseason as well. Jensen, a big part of our Bringing the Heat segment every single week has just been reminding the folks out there, youngest team in baseball are the Cleveland Guardians. And like you were talking about, there was a time in this season where it looked like maybe the bottom of the bag was about to fall out. Just a little bit before that, this was the best team in baseball as the youngest team in baseball.
Yeah, I think a couple of statistics were pretty mind-boggling. And knowing last year, when you looked at the offseason, what were our two biggest needs? Middle of the order power, or at least some sort of offensive influx. Austin Hedges was your only free agent signing.
Yeah.
And everyone going into Goodyear was like, what?
Yeah.
Like, what happened? Where are we? Like, we need more. We know that. And I think they felt with guys like with Brennan and Noel and Manzardo, they felt they would roll the dice on what they saw internally. And it's paid off in spades, no question about it. The second part is where they changed their hitting mentality. You heard this impact first, right? Get your A swing off. Get your A swing off in the first two pitches or first two good times to really do damage. No one had Quan double-digit homers. No one did.
No.
No one had him hitting 400, and then missing 4 weeks and coming back and picking up right where he left off. I give a lot of credit to Josh Naylor, and he's one of the great emotional players in our organization. But what he does from the seventh inning on, and we've said it for the last 2 to 3 years, why are you still pitching to Jose Ramirez with the base open? Well, the big reason why is because Josh Naylor got off to the same good start that Jose Ramirez did. So you had to pick your poison. Championship DNA has that thing. We look at the Yankees series, if you don't want to pitch to Soto, you got to pitch to Judge. If you don't pitch to Judge now, I think that'll be something to watch in the playoffs. Who's going to do the damage behind him? So something to keep in mind. But, man, without what David Fry did too. Anybody here have David Fry as an all-star? I mean, no. So, again, you look at these things, you start to connect the dots, and it gives you that team of destiny feel. It gives you 2016 vibes, guys, because that team member coming in, Jose Ramirez wasn't even a starter.
Right.
Michael Brantley was hurt.
It's crazy.
You had Colin Cowgill in the outfield. You had Marlon Byrd, who got
no one
popped
remembers that.
for performance enhancers and then was cut. Juan Uribe was playing third, okay? And Mike Napoli had one of the great resurgent seasons in 1 year, and the party at Napoli's was born. Well, we've got guards ball this year. We've got the Gardiac kids. I mean, there's a lot to like about the makeup of the club, and it's all about them really having this mindset from the beginning. We believe. And it's played out, and that's why they're here today.
We've had some iconic moments throughout the decades of Indians baseball. Do you have a favorite outside of Rajai Davis' home run in Game 7? Because that's probably at the top of almost everyone's. Do you have an iconic moment from when you were playing or just as a fan of this team?
The easy one to stand out is the Midge game. And we're in the bullpen. We had no idea what was going on. And at that point, we're trying to get from the position players because it was all kind of concentrated on the home plate area. Well, fortunately, Jabba Chamberlain and Mariano Rivera were the Cade Smith and Emmanuel Clase then. Like, I mean, no one was scoring on them at that point. And the midges were the biggest difference maker in the 7th and 8th inning, because if we don't tie that game, we don't win that game, we're probably in deep doo-doo going into Game 3. Just because Yankee Stadium is what it is, you're getting no breaks, you're getting no calls, you're going to have to win on your own. And that one stands out. Also, they did all of our TSA underneath the queue then and under the Jake. So we're getting wanded down. Everyone's getting on the buses. We're still kind of like in awe of Travis Hafner walking us off in extra innings. I'll never forget, we're coming up out of the tunnel, and the Thirsty Parrot is just, I mean, there's 10,000 people. They had the huge projection board up there, and people were still there. I mean, it's an hour and such after the game, and I get it, it's the playoffs. But the fans, we had goosebumps getting on 90 to the airport. We're like,
I bet.
We're winning this thing. It was like a win and a half that day. We won on the field, but to see the support, we all knew where we were when we saw that, and just how the fans were so behind us.
Nick, do you have a favorite moment? I know you're like 14 years old.
No, come on. So my moment, I have like a very early moment, and it's not a playoff moment. Are you asking for a playoff moment?
No, whatever.
You know what's a very underrated is Tom Hamilton's call of Jason Giambi's home run,
yes.
where he damn near fell out of his seat, and like that was really like because again, I am a little bit of a younger guy. I was young at the time.
Dude, that's one of my favorite moments as well. Like as a middle-aged guy with dad strength, like that was like I was like, yes.
Yeah, that's kind of when I knew I was like, I'm gonna be a fan of this team like forever. Like this, that was awesome.
That is great.
It's a hell of a baptismal moment.
Yeah,
it really is.
All right, Dave, give me. We need yours.
Dude, I was gonna go Giambi as well.
Okay,
I was gonna go Giambi as well. Yeah. So outside of the playoffs, give me Jason Giambi. Anyone who's over the hill and succeeds, I'm on board with.
Yeah.
Well, then I'll give you my regular season moment. My rookie year in 07, at the trade deadline, we traded Max Ramirez. Was a real top prospect catcher for us for Kenny Lofton. And I had just faced Kenny Lofton, I think maybe 3 weeks prior in Texas. And he was with the Rangers, and they were kind of scuffling. But when we got the news, because I think we were just coming out for BP, and we were like, oh, my God, that's what we did? We got him? We got him. And he got a standing O, all 4 ABs. That first night, he was in the lineup. He was hitting seventh. He was one of my childhood favorites growing up. And for me, it was Tommy. It was Fiskell, Kenny. I've known Kalo now, and now being a teammate. I mean, that was surreal going to the locker room. I'm like, yeah. So I like love you, dude. and I mean, it couldn't have been.
Was that your biggest fanboy moment?
No, I think Grady, because Grady at that time, I was 2 lockers down from him.
Okay.
And I think that one, because he was like Elvis at that point. He couldn't go anywhere. I mean, Grady's ladies notwithstanding, but he was 30-30 guy. Like and it's not fair to put Ohtani and him in the same sentence. But at that point, to have 30-30, like he was in the leadoff spot and was playing center, and good looking dude, and I mean, like he had it all, and to see what he was as a teammate. He was a real quiet guy. Of course, now we know, interim manager for the White Sox.
Yeah.
But just a consummate professional and teammate, like a guy that was so behind you and would sell out, and it's a big reason why his career is cut short. I mean, he sold out on a lot of defensive plays, had to battle injuries, but yeah, I think the Kenny Lofton trade and just being in the bullpen, because I used to stand up in the old setup of it, and to see everybody was up. Everybody, like before they even announced his name, everyone's on their feet going nuts. It was crazy.
Alrighty, Ryan, I think we have another guy joining the program here that has delivered a lot of big moments to Cleveland baseball. Carlos Baerga joins the Big Play pregame show. Carlos, I know you're at the stadium, brother. What is the vibe at Progressive Field right now, as we are about an hour away from first pitch of the American League Division Series?
Hey, how you doing, guys? What an honor to be with you guys here. This is the vibe right now. It's beautiful. The people are coming in. It reminds me, I was in the field a couple minutes ago, and it went through my mind, my first season here. It was amazing. Walking through the stadium, everybody talking about, that let's go to the World Series. Let's come back in there. And I was watching a couple pictures from last year, from 2022, when this team went to, to play against New York. And I know it was hard, but I think, talking to the guys, they are very excited. Jose Ramirez was telling me, I said, Carlos, I believe in this team. I think we can do it. I think we have everything together, to go to the World Series this year.
Carlos, it's J. Lou. I was just recounting the story of when we traded for Kenny Lofton in my rookie year in 07 and the standing O that he got for every at-bat and a difference maker he was for our club. I was a kid in the 90s. We followed, you and those great teams. Can you remember of your playoff runs with the Indians, was there a guy or a teammate in the locker room that going into game one of that postseason was like, that's the guy we need to hear from? Like, he's going to pump us up. Who was that guy for you?
The guy was Eddie Murray and Otto Hershiser. These two guys, more Otto Hershiser, because this guy was a horse.
Yeah.
This guy was a guy to was in, to be in the playoffs, to be in the World Series. And I remember the meeting where he stepped up and talked to everybody about it. What are you going to take? It's not a different game. It's a regular season. The fans are the one to make it more because they're going to get into it to the game. But we just need to keep playing the way we play. And I remember when we went through the first one against Boston. You remember that homer that Tony Peña hit in the 12th inning?
Just talking about that.
That first game. Oh, my God. It was something special. That was 2 days ago. It was the anniversary of that. And from that day on, everything changed. And that team, we wasn't scared of anybody. We stepped in the field and we know we were going to beat somebody. I know that we got beat by Atlanta Braves, and they did a great job. But it was a great run. And I remember the parade. I still remember the parade that we have. Over 50,000 people in there waiting for us. And then when we talk, I was watching it the other day, talking to the people, the fans and stuff. It was something special. And I can imagine what's going to happen. I saw the Cavaliers, my friend Rafa here, my teammate here wasn't there because Rafa is the one to do the basketball, the radio for them. But you know what? I can imagine what can happen if Cleveland Indians win a World Series. We're not going to work for 3 days. This is everywhere. So, man, I would like to be part of this. And I'm blessed that we do the Spanish radio here. And, I give thanks, to the Cleveland Guardians because we have a lot of Latino community here in Cleveland that we need to bring to the ballpark. This year, we got 2 million people. 2 million people. We break that burial, it's been since 2011. I don't think we have 2 million people.
Right.
But I believe in this thing. I believe that we got something special. I hope that God give us the opportunity to go all the way.
Absolutely. Carlos, give us an X factor from this current team in this first round series. Who do you like for the Guards as they're getting ready to host the Detroit Tigers here today?
Talking to Rafa, I was saying to him, Rafa, Juan has to become the first half of the season 20 for us to go all the way. Because if we get on base, we are a different team. And we have the opportunity to have Ramirez and Naylor to put the numbers. But I think it has to be a team effort. And as our starters, if they go at least 5 innings, we're going to be okay because our bullpen is the best in baseball. And when you have Classic closing the game, we have a pretty good chance. We did it this year in the regular season. I hope they give us that opportunity. And, our starters have to step up another level. And I believe that we can do it.
Carlos, if you look at Detroit's lineup, again, there's not going to be a bunch of names that jump off the page, but you look at the season series, 7 of the 13 games, 1 run decided those games. We did win the season series 7-6. Anybody on Detroit that kind of gives you a moment of pause? We're like, that's a guy we can't let beat us.
Well, I got 2 guys, Riley and Carpenter. Those are the 2 guys that they can hit. They got a little bit more experience in that team, but the whole team, we have to be careful. They are playing like they are like the Cleveland 1995 Cleveland Indians.
Yeah.
They don't have that power. They don't have anything, but they get on base. They play the little game, run the bases, run the ball, do the hit and run, stuff like that. So we need to step up as a pitching staff, to make those guys, to get it out and stuff like that. But I believe the biggest thing that Detroit have is their bullpen, the pitching staff, because they don't have, the starter is a scuba, but the bullpen is being the key for them. When you see the ERAs, what they have is unbelievable. So they are second in the league in bullpen too. So, I think we need to get into that. We need to win this first game.
Yeah.
This first game is special because on Monday, Scuba is going to pitch. So I believe that's we need to score right away too, to put pressure on them.
Love it.
Yes.
Love
yes,
it.
Yes, yes.
Carlos, thanks a bunch for joining us. Hey, make sure to give Rafa elbow up there for me in that.
Somebody say hi to you. Somebody say hi. He's here.
Rafa!
You know what Rafa doing?
Let's hear it.
The lightning he's putting on my face to go. That's the teammate. That's the guy that wanted everything to look good. Thank you, Rafa. Thank you. God bless you guys. All the best, man.
Thank you, Carlos.
Thank you, Los.
Carlos Baerga
So funny.
joining us on the Big Play pregame show. We're live hanging out at Lakewood Truck Park. We're going to hit you guys with some Guards predictions straight ahead.
Yes.
More of the Big Play pregame show right after this. Dave's going to the game. Enjoy it, brother.
All right, I'm going to go get us a W.
Welcome on back. We're hanging out here at the Lakewood Truck Park Big Play pregame show. It's all brought to you guys by Lipton Hard Iced Tea. The Lakewood Truck Park is filling up as we inch closer to first pitch. Cleveland Guardians, Detroit Tigers, American League Division Series, game number 1. Jensen, during the break, it was a little bit of a jailbreak up here at our desk. We got fans shooting you questions left and right. First one coming out from Jim. Very good question. We've broken down a lot of this game. Obviously, Tanner Bybee on the bump for our Guardians. What do we know about who's starting today for the Detroit Tigers?
Yeah, so Reese Olson going to get the start, and my guess would be with the way that A.J. Hinch has kind of gone with what they've done the last month or so and even in the postseason. Obviously, if he goes more than a time through the lineup, he's always pitched pretty well. But you can kind of see where Stephen Vogt, a lot of righties to get started here. I would anticipate with David Fry in the 2 spot that you could see a Kyle Manzardo when eventually it ends up going to a righty at that point and trying to play matchups that are middle to late in the game. So mid to high 90s, probably more low to mid 90s might tick up a bit with the postseason here and knowing he can kind of empty the tank and not have to get distance. Good fastball, good breaking ball. The changeup will play a little bit. So anxious to kind of see, where both offenses are, I think. And on the flip side, too, and we talked about it earlier, if people just joining us with Tanner, 11 days off since his last appearance. That was against the Reds in the regular season. They did do a couple of sim games during this week off, but something different about having that amount of time in between real game experience and then add in the adrenaline. It's his first postseason appearance, but if anybody can do it, if anybody benefits, I think, from time off, it's definitely him.
And then right before we went to break, we were graced by Carlos Baerga on the stream, and he calmed my nerves because he said exactly what I want to see happen. The guards go out in this game and jump out to a hot start with the offense. Let's score 3 or 4 runs in the first 5 innings and get a comfortable lead going into this game. And I like that Carlos took that take from me and blessed our airwaves with it.
It wouldn't shock me on a couple of fronts, and I think on the one side, if it takes Tanner maybe an inning or 2 to get the command under control, then you could see Detroit try and take advantage of that. Same being said, though, is the familiarity. This Cleveland offense with the Detroit pitching staff, there's not going to be a lot of secrets, so it really comes down to the ability to execute and the team that hits with runners in scoring position early and finding abilities to create some chaos in the base paths. Teams are similar, these two teams, in the sense that from the speed pressure, the ability to take the extra base, defensively, both very sound clubs. So, again, errors are going to be magnified. Leaving runners in scoring position going to be magnified. And that is the same with most postseason games, but in particular with how dominant both bullpens are, I think that's why you're going to see some sense of urgency offensively very early on.
One thing that we haven't hit on yet is just the familiarity between these ball clubs being 2 American League Central teams. You mentioned it earlier in the broadcast, 7 of the 13 meetings this year decided by just 1 run.
Yep.
And to me, Jensen, that magnifies those little things, those errors, those pivotal moments of the game just mean more when you're that familiar with your opponent. Am I right?
Yeah, and Guardians won 4 of 6 at home at Progressive Field in the season series, so good news for them there. The statistic that blows me away, these 2 teams have met 2,300 times in their history.
Insane.
Today will be the first time they meet in October. And it is wild to think about the iterations of our playoff formats and how teams qualify and get in. But this will be the first time. And I know John Morosi we had on from MLB Network earlier. The curse of Rocky Colavito, he had to bring up yesterday on MLB Network. I'm like, don't bring it up here. We don't talk about that. But it'll be fascinating to see how Detroit, deals with what is going to be an absolutely electric Progressive Field this afternoon.
100%, and it's 2 ball clubs that have a lot of history together, a division rivals, and now takes on a whole new life of its own when you have a rivalry already and then you match up in the playoffs. We're in for not just some fun today, but some fun throughout this whole entire week when you look forward to what this series is going to be, because I really think I don't think it's going to be a sweep, Jensen. I think Detroit could get Game 2 to Monday with Skubal, which means that Game 3 at Comerica means a lot more.
Yeah, and I think you probably end up seeing if the Guardians win today, it wouldn't shock me if it's a Gavin Williams, Joey Cantillo piggyback scenario, knowing that, as I mentioned before, the uniqueness of the AL side of the division series is both series will have an off day in between game 1 and 2, and an off day in between game 2 and game 3. So particularly as it relates to this series, these two clubs can empty their pen and ride their high leverage guys and their most effective guys perhaps longer than you would in the other side of it, and knowing that you might have to protect for guys that would have to pitch back-to-back games. The only time that could happen, as you mentioned, Wednesday and a potential game 4 on Thursday. So definitely we'll take this a game by game, but if Guardians find a way to win today and Tanner can get deep, it wouldn't surprise me whatsoever if it's, do they feel better with Gavin Williams as a starter and Cantillo coming out of the pen, or they flip that one time through the order, hand it off to the big boys in the back. And then, as we said earlier too, there's just something about when you've played a team and you've been with an organization the way Matthew Boyd and some of his best years were with Detroit. Does he get that highly emotional Game 3 start? Yeah. Is it the chance to clinch if Cleveland wins both the first two games?
That would be a lot of fun.
So to me, in that point, it makes more sense if you want to wait for him there, where a veteran guy who has pitched in Comerica knows how to handle it, knows how to warm up, knows those are all things that factor in. But secondly, if this is a swing game in Game 3, you want the veteran heartbeat there. Now, he'll have the adrenaline going, but that might be where they're envisioning at least the first 3 games of how this pitching will work out.
For sure. And then speaking of that pitching, man, okay, so Baerga stole my take of it wanting to see the offense jump out early in this game, score some runs early, and then he stole yours and said, well, that's what needs to happen because Detroit's bullpen is also their strength, and we know the Guardians' bullpen best in baseball. It was interesting to hear that from both of you guys now, saying that this series could really be determined in the first 5, maybe 6 innings of each and every one of these games because these bullpens are just that dominant.
Yeah, since August 12th, Cleveland best bullpen ERA in baseball, Detroit number 2. So you have the 2 best bullpens at least in the last 4 to 5 weeks, and we already saw what Detroit did in bullpenning the entirety of Game 2, closing out a Houston team that offensively, yes, they fell on hard times, but they have always been a juggernaut at home in October. So you have that at play today. The other thing you have at play, and I know he wants to exercise these demons individually, Tanner Bybee in 6 career starts against the Tigers, 1-3 with over a 5 ERA. But what he's done down the stretch, and I think this plays into that first time around the order, and what we hope is maybe the first 2 to 3, is he has really been good at throwing his slider, and maybe a bit more so now, particularly to left-handed batters. Something I'll be focused on there is he throws a lot of elevated fastballs, but he's also able to throw really good off-speed, his slider and his changeup and his curveball. He's got 4 weapons, but you've seen the slider kind of uptick, particularly to left-handed hitters. So we'll see if the Riley Greens of the world are going to be keyed in on that. Is there an ambush mentality from Detroit to get the early lead? A lot of things at play headed in here to Game 1.
Absolutely. We're hanging out here at the Lakewood Truck Park. We're going to be here, Jensen, every single game throughout the American League Divisional Series against the Detroit Tigers. So come on back down on Monday. It's all brought to you guys by Lipton Hard Iced Tea. I see a bunch of Lipton Hard Iced Tea shirts. People are passing out gear, swag. We're having a lot of fun with our friends at Lipton. Obviously, we're going to have a lot of fun today and then into Monday and throughout the rest of this series, as it's going to be a fun one. Jensen, I want to take a moment now to take a look at some other LDS matchups around baseball. Today specifically, 408. Okay, here at the Truck Park, we're probably going to be tuned into Ohio State, Iowa action going in the Big Ten. Well, New York Mets and the Philadelphia Phillies is a series that a lot of people in the baseball universe will be monitoring, especially because the way that the Mets got to this point has been phenomenal. It took Grimace, the McDonald's mascot. Then it took Haley Welsh, the Hawk Tuah girl, throwing out a first pitch. But finally we got to the wild card, and Pete Alonso delivers with the New York season on the line, and the Mets are going to go up and have a handful of matchup with the Phillies.
Yeah, and when you think about what Pete Alonso did, right at the end there in the 9th inning to hit the go-ahead 3-run homer. This will be the 3rd straight year that the Phillies will play a National League East opponent in the division series, and they obviously beat Atlanta the last couple of years. But how about this? The Mets have been on the road. Remember, their final week of the season, they had to go on the road. They've been on the road since September 24th. Wow. They will not play a home game until Game 3 at Citi Field. On what, Tuesday or Wednesday?
Yeah.
16 days. They've been on the road for over 2+ weeks.
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, that is unbelievable. All right. Who do you like in that series?
So, I mean, the team of destinies we talked about, the way that the Mets have been playing. Philly is probably that team you looked at as the deepest on the National League side. But I think ultimately you have to like exactly where Philly's position it is. You want to talk about a home field advantage. Holy crap. I mean, Citizens Bank Ballpark in October, I mean, they don't call it Red October for nothing. It is an unbelievable place. And I think what's intriguing, too, Zach Wheeler will go today.
With Zach Wheeler on the mound, with all that.
And he's just been a postseason juggernaut. Christopher Sanchez, though, instead of Aaron Nola, because Sanchez has had far better splits at home, going to go in Game 2 and then Nola in Game 3.
Alrighty, let's move on to the other side of the bracket here in the American League, as it's the Kansas City Royals against the New York Yankees, and Garrett Cole getting the start out there today.
Fifth time that these teams have met in the postseason. 4 previous have been in the League Championship Series. The first time they'll have met in the Division Series. And the Yankees handled the Royals in the season series 5-2. Aaron Judge, if you remember last year, really held in check. I think a $139 average. And also Michael Wacha for the Royals, who will get the start today. First postseason start for him since his time with St. Louis, but he's been very, very good for them. Their entire rotation has been phenomenal. They have given up 1 earned run. They have a .23 ERA in their last 39 2/3 innings. So you talk about 2 great bullpens in this series. Advantage Kansas City. If they have a lead over the Yankees late, they got a great chance to close it out.
Wow, I like that a lot. Prediction for that series?
Oh, I would love Kansas City to win. Absolutely. I want all the New York critics and all the New York beat writers to eat some crow there. I mean, they're all saying if the Yankees can't get it done now with this potential road to the World Series, then they should sell the team. Well, go ahead, Mr. Steinbrenner. I think people need to take Kansas City seriously. Like, if they get Game 1 today, you got Reagans in Game 2 on Monday, who has been unbelievably good, and then Seth Lugo, who's probably going to be maybe in the top 3, top 4 of the Cy Young voting when it's all said and done in the American League side.
Especially people know, too, just how good Bobby Witt Jr. is. And I think this series could be where the rest of America falls in love with Bobby Witt Jr., especially against those Bronx Bombers. Jensen, that take from you got some cheers here at the Lakewood Truck Park, as a lot of people want to see the evil Empire Yankees go down today. And then we'll finish it off with the nightcap. Mr. No-hitter Dylan Cease and the San Diego Padres against the LA Dodgers will be celebrating a Guards win and a Buckeyes win by the time first pitch comes across for this one.
I can't wait for this series. 2 teams that do not like each other. San Diego won the season series 8-5. We finally get Shohei Ohtani in postseason baseball for the first time in 850-plus regular season games.
That's crazy.
This is as vulnerable, I think, the Dodgers have been in the rotation that they have been maybe in the last decade, coming into an October run to a World Series. But if you think about it, these were also the 2 teams that started the year in South Korea for the regular season portion of the schedule. So bookending what could be an incredible matchup. I love the Padres. I think they're in a great spot. They're as deep as anyone in this postseason at the moment. Dylan Cease today. You get Yu Darvish coming up tomorrow. You don't want to say this is a must-win for the Dodgers, but it might be with Yamamoto tonight and then Jack Flaherty tomorrow.
Yeah, it is going to be one of the most exciting series, I think, especially when you look at division series across baseball.
Yeah.
That is definitely one to circle after a Buckeyes victory here tonight. All right, straight ahead on Big Play pregame, we're going to wrap the show. We're going to get you guys our Guards ball, final thoughts, and predictions with Jensen Lewis. Don't go anywhere. More of the Big Play pregame show right after this. Welcome on back into the Big Play pregame. Man, are we closing in. Just minutes away from first pitch. We're hanging out at the Lakewood Truck Park. Come on down. It's all presented by Lipton Hard Iced Tea. I see the hard iced teas are flowing.
Loving it.
Jensen Lewis as we get closer and closer to first pitch.
All right, I'm loving all the script Cleveland jerseys I'm seeing too.
Yes.
Great to see all of the red, white, and blue. America, baby. And that's where you got to have your heart today.
Yep.
I know we were talking earlier, some bets, and I think if you want to just do the all-Ohio parlay today.
You could do it.
Little Cleveland money line, little Ohio State money line put in together. Go ahead and pay for your tab. That's the smart way to go about it, I think. We're praying that Dave hits his little parlay.
How about
too.
that? So he was reading through all the legs if you're just joining us. And you know, he was guards money line, okay, with you there. Tanner Bybee, 5 strikeouts, okay, with you there. He hits us with a John Kenzie Noel and does a long pause. And then he's like, home run. And you said, are you serious?
I would love it.
Yeah. I think nothing would get that ballpark going like a big Christmas home run in game 1 in his first postseason game of his career.
I'll tell you what would be great is Tanner goes 1, 2, 3 in the top, and then Kwani, little ambush leadoff bomb to start it in the bottom of the first. You get him right, get him going, get the crowd into it, and really excited to see, you know, where some of these guys. Remember, you got a few guys, as you mentioned, that'll make their postseason debuts today.
Yeah.
Tanner being one of them. Was texting with his dad, Scott, last night, and Scott said if there's anybody that can really benefit from some extended rest, it would be Tanner, because I asked him, like, you know, hey, 11 days off, that's a long, I mean, it's an eternity in baseball. So he feels pretty strong about it. I'll take the old man's word, and I think Tanner going to be up to the task today.
Yeah, absolutely. And, you know, if anybody knows what you're feeling like, it's usually your pops and, you know, somebody that's been right there along the way with you. So that's super cool insight there from Mr. Bybee. Jensen, what's it like to make your postseason debut, you know, especially for some of those younger dudes that, you know, kind of made their real baseball debut this season? Now it's time to do it in October. What's that like?
Yeah, I mean, someone who was born and raised here in Northeast Ohio, you know, my family's from right down the road in Medina, so this was my childhood dream team. This is where I always wanted to play, and I think that 07 year, my rookie year, we really felt after we went into Yankee Stadium and we beat the Yankees in Game 4, and then we took the 3-1 lead against the Red Sox. I think it was really starting to sink in, like, holy crap, man, you're gonna be the team that ends the drought.
Yeah.
And we obviously know what happened in the rest of that year. It was really disappointing. 2016, I think, the infamous Tart pull, you know, for a 10-minute rain delay we never needed. So some things haven't gone our way. Is it finally the time where you look at this group who no one expected on the outside to get there, where so many people overlooked them, even with the start that they had in the great campaign through the first half of the season? You wonder if they've taken all that to heart and continue to have that on the bulletin board every single day and say, hey, nothing's changed. People still don't believe in us. Let's keep moving the line. Let's keep doing what we know how to do. Let's play guards ball, and let's bring this thing home.
Man, I love that. That gets me excited, and you're right, you know, about that. You know, I remember when you started with us, and we were grilling you, Jensen, at the beginning of the season, asking, this team didn't do anything throughout free agency, really throughout the offseason. They hired a manager that not many people had heard of or were familiar with here in Cleveland, especially with some of the bigger names that were out there. You know, Craig Counsell was out there, and they stuck to their guns, and they hired Stephen Vogt and just proved everybody wrong all season long. And it does have a team of destiny feel to it for sure.
I mean, I'll go back to that press conference when we were sitting there and we were wondering, okay, you know, hearing what Chris Antonetti and Mike Chernoff had to say about him, and then seeing the emotion of Stephen Vogt and all the phone calls and the Zooms and the meetings. And, I mean, they did their due diligence, and they kept falling in love deeper and deeper with what I think Stephen Vogt meant, not only as a person, but I think the relatability. And I told you and Reflog and Gab this at the beginning of the year. I said there was a difference maker with that.
Yeah.
Where you're seeing that trend happen. A lot of younger managers, at least overall, in Big League Baseball moving forward. But I think former players that know what it's like recently in our age of analytics, in our age of you know, matchups and how guys are using lineups and roster construction. So for him to be able to come out from day one and have these guys ready and then carry that through. Because at the All-Star break, I think we're all like, wow, okay, this is great. But can they finish? Can
For
you
sure.
finish? There were a couple of stretches there down in the second half. When you lost 7 or 8 in a row and then you had to really get gritty in Minnesota, they did to split the series. And then that seventh inning comeback, the 4-run comeback against the Royals, I think ultimately turned the tide. I think we'll look to those 2 moments as a club that didn't panic and that was reflective of their manager. Their manager thought, guys, we're fine. Keep playing. These happen. These things happen. We didn't really have it happen in the first half, but that's fine. We're okay. We're good enough. And they are where they are today because of that.
I love that so much. Alrighty, Jensen Lewis, it is prediction time here on the Big Play pregame show. We already hit you guys with our bets earlier in the show, and if you're just tuning in, we're going with the All-Ohio parlay today. We're going with Guards money line. We're going with Buckeyes money line. I think that's going to pay for a lot of tabs here at the Lakewood Truck Park. At least I surely hope. Jensen, this series, though, 5-game series, Detroit, a formidable opponent. You know, although it seemed like they were dead in the water just a few months ago, boy, have they found new life. What's your prediction for this series? How many games we going?
I think we're going 4. I think Guardians win it in Detroit, and I think it goes back to their stars. I think Jose has a big series. He has always played well against Detroit.
Yep.
I think Tanner rises to the occasion today, and I think they rely on what got him here, and it was that really deep and lethal bullpen, and nothing will make me happier than seeing Emmanuel Clase close it out in what looks like to be a chilly next week. And it's going to be cold up there in Comerica. But first things first, take care of business today. I think they do. 5-3 Guardians win this afternoon. I think Bybee goes 5 at least. I think he hands it off to the bullpen. I'm hoping we get a little Kyle Manzardo action. I think Willie Brennan's big today for us. Maybe some of the unusual suspects that get it done. But it starts with Tanner being really good from the start.
Yeah, it's going to be a fun one here at 1 o'clock. We appreciate you guys who tuned into the live stream out there on the social media streets. We appreciate everybody here at the Lakewood Truck Park for listening to us. He's Jensen Lewis. I'm Nick Padone. This is our first ever Big Play pregame for the Cleveland Guardians. We're looking forward to being live again Monday. Same place right here in Lakewood. We'll do it then. Let's go, Guards. Get a win.